This video is going to be the course syllabus overview for our organizational behavior class this fall. So what I'd like to do, I guess what I'd ask you to do as I go through this, is to please log into your D2L. Well, you're probably already logged into that if you're watching me on this video, aren't you? I think it's helpful too to have your syllabi either printed off or have it up or something. And I'm going to walk you through this entire syllabi. This is kind of like your first day of class. In a face-to-face class. I like to try to replicate some of those things that we do in the classroom on the online environment, and I think it's really helpful just to spend some time going through this. So get you a cup of coffee or a glass of water or a cup of tea or maybe an adult beverage if you're old enough to partake in that, and sit down and relax, and let's walk through this syllabi for about 15-20 minutes to make sure that you have a good understanding of what the expectations are for this class. I'm going to navigate you through the D2L. I'm going to navigate you through the My Management Lab, which is a supplement we're using, and we're also going to go through the syllabi pretty much line by line. So let's get started with that. First thing I'd like to do is kind of introduce you to the D2L shell. Now you see my cursor flying around the screen. There's the welcome video, and here's the welcome letter. This is what I emailed you guys a week or so ago before classes started. So every week I'll typically do a video. You'll see it posted up here in the announcements. I'll also email you a link to that. So I'll email you a link and I'll say, hey, here's the video, here's a link to it. Please either watch it on YouTube or go to D2L and watch that. I really encourage you guys to watch these videos. I try to keep them about 15 to 20 minutes long. But what I do is I look at what we did the previous week. I try to capture some highlights off of that, and then I try to tee up what we're going to do this next week. I generally like to record those on Mondays, possibly Tuesdays, but you'll see that the first day or two of the week. And I really encourage everyone to watch those, because those will give you a better feel of what that is, of what's going on in the class this week. So let's go ahead and get started. So the D2L shell, hopefully everybody's familiar with D2L, but my courses are set up, of course I think they're set up pretty logically, and I understand everybody sets them up a little bit differently. So here you've got your news announcements. You'll see the videos pop up here. Over here, called the course map, is really where the blocking and tackling takes place. First thing I want you guys to do is introduce who you are. Now my screen looks a little different because I am in an instructor screen, and so yours is going to look the same here, but when I click on these, just keep in mind some of these things might look a little different. So I want you to do the introductions this week. Click on that, reply to the thread in there, and tell us who you are, okay? The syllabus. Actually, let me go up here. I will just view as a student, so now all of ours will look the same. How about that? So the syllabus. This is the syllabus that I have up over here. If you click on this, you should be able to pull up the syllabi. Now one thing you'll note, it says MANG301, Section 5, Fall 15, Syllabus Revision 1. If for some reason we change the syllabi, or I need to revise it, or we need to speed up or slow down, if there's major changes to the syllabi, you'll see that become Rev 1.1 or Rev 2 or whatever. So here's the syllabi that I need everyone to be working with. So let's jump back here to the home screen. Right here are course materials. So course materials are basically going to be little folders with important information in each one of these. The My Management Lab access information, I'll get to that in a minute. Discussion grading rubric, self-assessment assignment information, site visit information, ethical lens assignment, and websites and resources. Then I throw the PowerPoints in here as well. Not necessarily that you need the PowerPoints, but I use them in my online class to kind of guide our discussion. So I always like to throw those in there for you guys to have as well. So that's where you can find course materials. The next thing is general questions. Let's say you've got a question that maybe everybody else has. How in the world do I see my grades? Or the discussion postings, I'm not understanding how to get those done on time or whatever. So post your general questions here. And that's basically everybody can see those and comment on those. And then down here we basically have it set up by week. So week 1, what are we going to do week 1? You can also find this on the syllabus, but I think it's helpful to look here. You've got a self-assessment due, You got a video you got to watch, you got a simulation you're going to do, you got a chapter quiz you're going to complete, and then you're going to complete the ethical lens inventory. And then there will also be a discussion posting that will pop up in here as well. Because every week we're going to have a discussion posting. Okay? Week 2. So this tells you what everything's doing here. Alright, so hopefully that is laid out fairly simply. If you use the syllabi and you go to here and you look at what's going on with this, this will keep you on track. Alright, over here there's a calendar. You can kind of see what's coming up on the calendar. I strongly suggest that you look at the calendar. Some people like to look at it in this view. I populate everything in here. So you can see. Now don't freak out yet. I know people are like, oh my gosh, look at all those things that are due. These things are fairly short assignments. We'll go through those in just a minute. But you can look at the calendar view. This is populated throughout the rest of the semester. It shows you when the exams are going to open, when the exams will close, the discussions, and all of those things. Okay. All right. So let's go back to here. Let me jump over here to the syllabi. So this is D2L. This gives you an idea where to even find the syllabi, I guess. That's why I want to start there. So first thing you need to do is go grab the syllabi, download it, save it on your tablet, your laptop, your desktop, print it off. However you're going to manage that, go get that syllabi and start looking at it. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over here to the syllabi. Okay. This is our course. No, that's not our course. One moment. Let me pull up our course. I'm teaching multiple sections of this class. Syllabus, fall of 2015, online, and here we go. This is our course. The other syllabi is similar, but enough difference it'd be confusing. This is our online class. All right, so here's the syllabi. Let me just double check here real quick. Okay, just want to make sure that was the correct one loaded up in there. Alright, so here's our syllabi. This is my contact information. I know many of you guys are remote. That's awesome. I can be, you can call me, you can email me, you can get connected to me through LinkedIn, you can Skype me. If need be, I can give you my cell phone number and you can contact me via my cell phone. Office hours, these are the office hours that I'll basically ensure that I'm in my office, with the exception of meetings that I don't have control over when they're scheduled sometimes, and I might be in a meeting during those times, but more than likely 95% of the time I will be in my office at those times. What I encourage you to do, if you do want to come meet with me, especially if you're coming from out of town or we've got something critical we need to work on, let's go ahead and make an appointment for that. Get it on our calendars. I use Microsoft Outlook just like you guys have access through C365 Office. So let's use those tools to coordinate our times and all of that. Course description. So this is our course description with regards to organizational behavior. Generally what we're going to be looking at this entire semester is people. Us, you, me. We're going to be studying how we behave in the workplace. How do you motivate people? How are people demotivated? That's pretty easy to figure out sometimes. You may be in a job right now where you're not motivated to go into work. You can't stand your work environment. Or the climate's just terrible, or your boss is upsetting you, or your coworkers. I mean, all of this stuff falls into this discipline called organizational behavior. Extremely critical. I was in management for many, many years, and before that, I was, I was doing the blocking and tackling. I wasn't doing the strategy and everything, so I understand all those aspects of that. I have still a lot to learn. I continue to learn every day, but what we're going to be unpacking through this semester is how do we understand people's behavior and how do we understand them to a point that we can improve the behavior or manage that behavior in an organization to help the organization perform at its optimum level. Okay? I don't care if you pick large companies, small companies, privately owned companies, publicly owned, publicly traded companies, mom and pop companies. There is one common denominator through all of those companies, and it's people. So when we're talking about Google and IBM or Apple or all these large companies that tend to get highlighted in many of our textbooks, I think that oftentimes we forget that they're still made up of people, and people are not perfect. And that's what, and organizations aren't perfect. But the good organizations, big and small, private and public, they spend some time trying to figure out how do we onboard people? How do we integrate people into our culture? How do we define our culture? How do we even define what creates our culture within our organization? We want to hire the type of person that's going to fit our culture or work well with our environment. So how do we do that? Well, first thing you got to do is define it. And before you define it, you got to figure out, okay, what is it that is that special sauce of our company that makes it work the best? In most organizations, when you're competing for customers, clients, business, or whatever, most organizations are using the same computers, whether they be PCs or Apples or Unix or whatever. They're using a lot of the same equipment. If you're in manufacturing, I built trucks for a living, so our competitors had the same laser cutting machines, the same welding equipment. We were all buying the best stuff because you had to stay efficient and productive. However, the difference is oftentimes the people. How do you recruit them? How do you train them, develop them? How do you manage them? How do you compensate them? So all of those things have to do with people. So most of the time in most organizations, people are the competitive advantage. I don't want to teach the whole class right now. We got all 16 weeks to figure that stuff out. I just want to give you a little insight, though, what we're going to be covering. I have a lot of business students that take this course and students from other disciplines, and this is a course that a lot of times there's some aha moments in this course for students because it's like, oh, that's why I don't like my job right now, or that's why I really liked going to this place, because those people actually were nice to me and friendly. And it's just amazing the simple things that go a long ways to attract and retain customers or employees. All right, so hopefully everybody's had their MANG301 class, the Principles of Management. Here's our information on our textbook. It's basically this textbook, Robbins and Judd. This is, we just switched to the 16th edition. We'd used the 15th for years, but it was time to upgrade. These are in the bookstore, or you can order them through wherever you'd like, whatever book supplier you prefer. The key is that you're going to need the My Management Lab access codes for this book as well. Now you can buy those separately. We stock these over in the bookstore with the access codes, or you can just buy that from wherever you want. You can log on and buy the access to the My Management Lab, but you will need the My Management Lab for this course, and I'll go into that here in a bit. Student learning objectives for this course. So they're listed here. Basically, we want you to understand how to identify the individual level behaviors and differentiate those amongst people in the workplace. We're going to talk about a lot of theories of motivation, equity theory, all sorts of really cool theories that we've been trying to figure out for almost 100 years. We don't quite have them figured out, but there's some new contemporary theories that are coming out that are really helping inform those. And with neuroscience, the ability to look inside our brains and study those while we're doing activities has really informed our behavior, org behavior type of concepts. All these theories aren't great. Some of them, everybody's probably, maybe you haven't, but you're going to hear of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We kind of hang our hat on that oftentimes in the psychology world and org behavior world, but we're going to debunk some of those things about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's good theory. It's just not been proven to be real reliable and valid over time. So we're going to learn about all these things. We're going to understand kind of the difference between some good theories and some not so great theories. All right, some student learning outcomes. So there's 3 student learning outcomes we're going to be focused on. We have 8 total student learning outcomes for all of our business students in the BVA program. The first one we're going to focus on is obviously specific knowledge about organizational behavior. The other one is effective communication. You guys are going to do a site visit at some point. I'll go through that here in a bit, but you're going to go visit some managers in the workplace. You're going to partner up with someone, and you're going to interview them about challenges they're having in the workplace with people, and you're going to come back and you're going to present those virtually to me. So I'll get into more detail of that, but we're going to continue to work on your communication skills and your presentation skills, even though this is an online class. And then we're also going to integrate some ethical development tools into this class. We have a learning outcome called Ethical Every Day, how to make decisions that are ethical in the workplace and in our personal and professional lives as well. I'll talk about those in a little bit. All right, course delivery. So I go through the course delivery. Basically, this is an online class. You don't need to come to campus for anything. However, just so you know, there are requirements for an online class that you're checking in on a regular basis. You're doing the homework. You're meeting with your partner on the site visits. You're going to be required to do presentations virtually. So don't think that this is a class that is easier than an on-campus class. This class is just as rigorous, if not more rigorous and more challenging sometimes in an on-campus class, because you got to fill in some gaps here. I'm here to help you, but you got to ask the questions. And a lot of times online students, where I see them struggle, is they don't understand something and they don't come and ask questions, or they don't call me, or they don't email, and then a couple weeks go by and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a couple weeks behind, I'm losing points, my grade's tanking. I think that adds a challenge to the online component that you don't have as much in an on-campus class, because you might be reminded a little more frequently of when things are due and stuff. That's why I'm doing this video, though, is because I want to help you be successful in this class, and understanding my expectations, understanding how to navigate through this class is the first part to being successful. All right, so this talks about what this is, and you know, my expectation is that when there's something that shows up, obviously the first week's the exception, but when there's things that shows up, the class session topics, the expectation is that you've read those, you've done the work before that week that it comes about, because we'll have discussion topics on that topic that week. So if you're not reading the book until the week of the discussion topic, you're going to be challenged to be successful in those discussion topics because you haven't read the materials and you haven't done the exercises. Okay? So the way my syllabi is laid out, you have the week over here. You have kind of the topics we're going to cover this week. And then you have the assignments over here that are due this week. Now, I believe almost all the assignments for this class are due at the end of every week, with the exception of the discussion boards. There's things due during the week for those. But all of these assignments, so let's say August 17th, that's a Monday. The week begins on August 17th, and it ends on August 23rd. I was looking at my calendar over there. So the week begins and the week ends on August 23rd. Then the new week starts on the Monday, August 24th. So just keep that in mind, that these weeks are cycles. They begin on Monday and they end on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. All of these have drop boxes or activities associated with them, and these are due typically at the end of the week at by 11:59 p.m. Now, just to clarify on that, that doesn't mean you have to wait until Sunday night at 10 o'clock p.m. to do these assignments. I would strongly suggest you don't wait until Sunday at 10 p.m. to do these assignments. Things happen. Technology goes awry. You can't find your materials. Whatever. Stuff happens. Don't use that strategy. It's a bad strategy. I'll get into my policies on late assignments here in a bit, but it's very strict, and there's a reason why, and I'll explain that. Essentially, I don't allow any late assignments unless you get with me before the due date, and then we can negotiate a new due date. However, I have other things I'm doing on the weekends. I'm not going to be taking phone calls and checking emails necessarily on Sunday night to negotiate a new due date with you. So if things happen and they're last minute and we don't get together and you don't get a new due date negotiated, then you're going to lose points for that assignment. But that's the minority of things that happen. The majority of the time, everybody gets these done on time. We'll manage those as they come up. So I'm not going to go through line by line, but basically if you look at this right here, assignments, and you go over here to August week 1, you'll see the same things. Here's the self-assessment. Here's the chapter video. Here's the simulation exercise. Here's the chapter 1 quiz. And then here's the ethical lens inventory. And then you'll see a discussion topic pop up here once I release that. Okay, then week 2, you go to week 2. You come here and you'll see the things due here, you know, self-assessment number 2, video exercise. So this and this should match. And I believe they do. I've been through this many a times, checking this to make sure everything's correct. but I'm human. I'm not saying there isn't a mistake somewhere in there. If there is a mistake, we'll solve it, resolve it, and move on and make sure it doesn't happen again. All right, the exams. We'll just talk quickly about the exams. Well, I'll get to the exams in just a moment when we get down to all the activities. So you can generally see how the syllabi is laid out here. It goes through all of these things. And fall break, we don't have class. It doesn't affect the online students as much, but I still like to put it in there so you know that, I guess, generally there's nobody on campus that day. Let's see. We have a Thanksgiving breakdown here. Here's when you'll do your site visits. So you want to look through this and you want to figure out your system, however you're going to do it. Another nice feature in this calendar that I think students oftentimes don't see, you can subscribe to this calendar, and this will give you, I don't want all calendars, you would actually want to pick this class, and you would want to subscribe to this calendar. Like if you're using, I use Apple stuff, so if I'm using my phone, I can subscribe to this calendar. It can populate everything into my phone on when the due dates are. It's a pretty nice feature. If something changes in here, if I move something around, it sends that out and it reschedules it in your phone. So just keep in mind there's some nice tools in here that you might want to look at for keeping track of when things are due in your courses. Okay, let's go on down here to the assignment. So this was kind of the schedule. Same thing over here. And then these are the assignments. This is where I basically give you more information on each one of those assignments, okay? So weekly discussions. Every week there's going to be a discussion. And you'll see discussion posting pop up here. I have it ready. It won't launch until I think midnight or something on Sunday night or Monday morning, 1 a.m. or something. So you'll see the discussion posting pop up for each week. The requirement is, or the expectation is that you read that discussion topic. I would suggest you read it on Monday. You've already read this stuff, right? Because you read it the week before, with the exception of this week. I realize not everybody's got their books and everything. So this discussion topic will be something in the general idea about what you've just read or what we're going to unpack this week. You need to respond to that discussion topic by the end of Wednesday each week, okay? And then after that, you need to pick, I look for one. If you do two, that's great, but I look for you to respond to at least one other student's comments. And I have a rubric for this. I'll show you how I grade these, but you need to respond to another student's comments by the end of Sunday, okay? So the sequence on that is the discussion posting will pop up on Monday. Read that. Go ahead and respond to it if you want right then. You don't have to wait, but it needs to, your initial response needs to be done by the end of the day on Wednesday of that week. And then you need to respond to somebody else's comments by the end of the day on Sunday. At the end of the day on Sunday, that discussion topic closes. Okay, we're done with that topic. Doesn't mean we won't come and revisit those things again, but basically discussion, you can still see the discussions, but you just can't respond to them again. Okay, so each week we open a discussion, we talk about it, and then we close it. So there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. These discussion topics don't roll on through the whole semester. We have a new topic every week. All right. So, and I'll guide you guys. I'll give you feedback on your discussion topics the first few weeks as everybody gets comfortable with those. So if you're not doing what I need you to do or what I expect you to do, you'll get feedback from me through D2L on your grade for that. All right, video assignments. There's video assignments. Not every chapter has them. Let me show you real quick what my management lab is, though. I have it up right here. So my management lab is basically the, let me go to the main, my management lab is basically the website for the publisher, for Pearson, that has assignments in this. All right, so you have to go to this website and log in. How do you get there? Let me go to Course Materials, My Management Lab Access Information, and this is where you register for it. So look at this. You log in here. You select Student. Here's the course ID, Stone 19719. You create your own username and password sign in. And then if you bought the textbook, then you'll have an access code that you'll just plug into that. If you didn't buy that, the book with an access code, you can buy access to it. However, regardless if you have the access code or you didn't buy the book or you haven't done that, I know sometimes financial aid isn't there quick enough for you, you can still get into this temporarily for 14 days. So there's no excuse not to be into this course. On Monday, August 17th, you need to be getting in and doing that. So if you don't have even your textbook, you can log in and you can get temporary access for 14 days to this. And then once you get your financial aid, or once you figure out if you're going to stay in the class or whatever, then you will need to eventually either get the access code or pay for the My Management Lab. It's not a huge expense. I think it's I think My Management Lab access, don't quote me on this, but it seems like it's around 70 or 80 bucks for that. Okay. Now, all right, so let's see. I want to go back to here. Let's go ahead and pop over to My Management Lab. I already have it up. I'm logged in. So this is where you basically will do some of these assignments. Now, the code is, the way you decipher this is if it says My Management Lab, MML, that means that you go to here and you do that assignment. Okay, so we'll click on Assignments and you'll see Video Exercise for Herman Miller. Video Exercise for Herman Miller. You'll go to this, you'll click on it. Oh, well, I'm in instructor view, so it's not going to, it won't let me, I can preview it, but not out of this screen. So you click on it, a video will pop up, it will play. They're usually about 8 to 10 minute video, and then there's some questions at the end of it that it'll quiz you on. The simulation, the same thing. The simulation, you need to plan about 20-30 minutes for that simulation. You need to have read the book before you do these things as well, let me remind you. The simulation will give you a scenario. It's kind of interactive. There's some video involved, some choices you have to make, and depending on what choices you make, it takes you to some other selections and options for that. And then you need to do the chapter quiz. There are 15 questions, I believe, on the chapter quizzes. They're basically end of the chapter quizzes. Okay. Now this DSM Chapter 1 Dynamic Study Module. These are not assignment. These aren't. You don't get points for these. But I wanted to leave these open in case you want to do that. You can study stuff online. It'll walk you through a little different study plan. So a lot of students find this helpful to help them study this chapter and dive into it a little deeper. There's no points associated with it. So this is, you can do them if you want, but you don't have to. Okay? So that's where you find the video exercise, the simulation exercises, and the chapter quizzes. Okay? So while those are listed here in D2L, and this is a little confusing, and I apologize for that, but while they're listed in D2L, you actually go to My Management Lab and complete those assignments there. I will pull your grade from My Management Lab for those 3 activities and put them into D2L. Okay? So don't worry about putting anything in the Dropbox for this. You just need to take them, complete them by the due date, and then I will pull your points for those and move them over. Typically I do those on Monday or Tuesday of that week after they're due. So I'll pull those in and populate your grade in D2L. So you'll always have grades. You'll know what your grade is all the time in D2L. All right, self-assessment library. Let me show you what the, so this is the self-assessment library. If you bought the package here at CMU for the on-campus one, you get this green book. In the green book, there's an access code to get to the online stuff. And there's also a DVD or a CD in the back of it. For the online students, that's part of your My Management Lab. You don't need to buy that separate, okay? So that's listed right here, the self-assessment library. So when you see these self-assessment library activities due, these SALs, which there's ones just about every chapter, you're going to click here and you're going to go into the self-assessment library. You're going to enter your name and it's going to bring up this library, this online page. So you click here on assessments, you look at the number, so let's just look at SAL number 1, it's 4G1. So 4G1. How much do I know about organizational behavior? These are just little assessments, okay? These assess you. Now this one's kind of a silly one. I like most of these. This one's just kind of basically checking out some preconceived ideas about what you think you know or what you think is right about org behavior. These are basically, you get points for doing them, you don't get points if you don't do them. There's no right or wrong answers on these. Many of these are kind of introspective type assessments. You'll take a Myers-Briggs, you'll take a Big Five personalities, you'll take you know, how I like working with older people survey. And there's tons of surveys that you'll take that kind of give you some insight into your attitudes about these things. As you're reading the textbook, I suggest as you read the textbook, you do the self-assessment at the point at which it shows up in the textbook. For example, on, I guess I could bring this textbook up electronically, couldn't I? So I don't see the self-assessment offhand, but in Chapter 1, there's a self-assessment. How much do I know about org behavior? And as you're reading, it'll say, go do the self-assessment. Go do it. All right, there is another video under Course Materials. So if I go here, Course Materials, Self-Assessment Assignments, there's another video that I'll post on how to print. I'm sorry, there's not a video. There's instructions on how to print to a PDF. Because when you do the self-assessment, it's a little tricky to save this as a PDF and then upload it into the Dropbox into D2L. So if you get stuck on that, get with me. I'll help you out. There's a nice little handwritten, or not handwritten, but a nice little written step-by-step procedure on how to save that SAL as a PDF and then upload it into Dropbox. All right, the site visit. Hang with me. We're almost done here. I know this video is going on for a while, but I want to make sure this is covered. So site visit. So what you're going to do with the site visit is you're going to team up with somebody in your class, preferably 2 people on a team. You are going to go visit a client. I'm not going to tell you who to go visit. There are some rules of who you can and can't visit. If you want to learn more about this assignment, go to Site Visit Information. There's a Site Visit Overview video, and then there's Site Visit Requirements right here. So you want to go to those, read that. But basically, there's 3 activities for this assignment. You're going to go do the interview. I think you have until, when were those due? The week before Thanksgiving we'll do the presentation. So your PowerPoint and your report are not due until the week before Thanksgiving. So you have plenty of time to go pair up with somebody. Go give me, there'll be an assignment where you tell me who you think you're going to visit. I want you to come up with 5 questions that are related to org behavior. And then you're going to go interview them, and then you're going to do a presentation to me through GoToMeeting virtually. And that's usually pretty fun. I have fun watching those, and you guys, I don't know, maybe my idea of fun's a little different than yours, but we'll have fun with that assignment. Don't fret about it too much. That usually ends up being very educational and informational by taking the theories and ideas out of org behavior and going and talking with people that are doing this stuff all the time, and you're going to hear some pretty cool stories from them about, yeah, you know, motivation is huge, conflict management is huge, the structure of our organization makes a difference of how people behave and act in our organization. All right, so the next thing on this is the ethical lens activities. There's going to be a number of activities associated with helping us learn how to make decisions more ethically. Ethical behavior in the workplace is huge. You don't have to look too far to see when people misbehave ethically in the workplace. You could Google anything, any company right now, I don't care who they are, there's probably some headlines about something that a CEO or a leader or somebody did wrong that just wasn't darn right unethical in that organization in the last year or so. Okay, Apple's not immune to that. I can pull up many examples. I mean, I'm a huge Apple fan and huge big company fan. I follow many of them, and I'm interested in how they perform. But Apple's not immune. There's some articles about their Chinese partners that are not very flattering with regards to decisions they've made. Now, they're trying. All companies, once these things happen, typically get the hint, and they try to become more ethical in their behaviors. But we're going to go through, you guys will take an ethical lens inventory here the first week. There will be more information coming on that. You're going to work on writing your personal ethics statement of how you work and solve personal dilemmas. And then you're going to work on some of those things through the semester. So a number of these, so that's basically going to be our ethical lens inventory or activities. We'll unpack those more as the semester goes on. And then the chapter content exams. So we have 6 exams through the semester. Those will all be on D2L. They will open on a Monday and they will close on a Wednesday. So you'll have 3 days to complete those. They're multiple choice. Obviously, those need to be done individually. And those are going to be, there will typically be 10 questions per chapter. The exams are listed, I believe right up here. Let's see, yep, exam 5, chapters 13, 14, and 15. Exam 6, chapter 6. They're typically 3 chapters, I believe, most of them. All right? So that's the exams that we'll be taking. Typically about every 2 or 3 weeks you'll have an exam. Here's the points breakdown as far as evaluation of how you're going to be assessed, so you can kind of see where the points breakdown is. There's a lot of things in this class. Please do not freak out at this point about how many things there are. You'll find, I mean, there's amount of time I'm expecting you to spend on this class. You're not going to be able to spend a half hour a week on this class and be successful. This class is typically about a 6 to 8 hour class a week, okay? Because you're not coming to class and meeting. You're spending time reading, doing activities, and all this stuff. So that's the paradigm shift you have to make with an online class versus an on-campus class. An on-campus class, you're in class about 3 hours a week, and then you have about a couple, maybe an hour to 2 hours worth of homework after, associated with each one of those classes. So it probably adds up to about 8 hours worth of work dedicated to that class a week. When online, you're not coming to class. So the time requirement for this class is somewhere around 7 to 8 hours per week. So don't underestimate that. Every semester I have to have conversations with students about how much time are you spending on this class. When they're struggling, or if you're struggling, sit down and be honest with yourself and say, am I spending time, adequate time on this class? These chapters are good chapters. They're about 20-some pages apiece. I think to absorb these, you need to allocate at least an hour or 2 per chapter to read this. You'll notice some weeks we have 2 chapters, most weeks we have 1, but some weeks we have 2. So there's a couple hours of reading right there a week. The discussion topics, you need to set aside about a half hour to 45 minutes, maybe an hour for those discussion topics throughout the week. And then all of the activities, the videos, the simulations, the quizzes, the self-assessments, the ethics personal statement, the site visit. It's not going to be an even 7 or 8 hours every week, but I guarantee you it will ebb and flow. This first week may not seem like it's a huge week. The second week, if you don't have your book and you aren't engaged and going, that requirement doubles the second week. So some weeks may be more, some weeks may be less. So it averages out to about 7 to 8 hours a week. All right, so course changes. This is kind of the policy stuff. We got to have this in here so everybody kind of has the same rule book that we're all playing out of. Course changes, late assignments. Let me just talk on that real quick. Late assignments. They're not allowed after the due dates. Assignments turn in after the due date, 0 points. Don't miss your due dates. Why am I so strict on that? People come to me and say, Kyle, why are you so strict on your due dates? The reason I'm strict on due dates is I have worked with a lot of really smart people in my career. It's been great. I've seen people that are 10 times, just so intelligent, but they couldn't get anything done on time. I saw those people's careers basically dissolve in front of them. They couldn't get the meetings on time. They couldn't get the work on time. They couldn't articulate what they were trying to say or do in some cohesive manner so people could understand it. Very smart people, but they had no focus or discipline to get things wrapped up and turned in to their boss, the customer, the client, whoever, the coworker. If you cannot start to develop, and I think college is a great place to develop those skills, if you cannot develop skills that help you manage your time appropriately, that will impact you greatly when you head into your career, whatever career you decide to go into. So I am strict on this for your benefit. I'm trying to help you learn the consequences of maybe some poor decisions or maybe some poor time management. Now I'm a human. I'm not just this terrible evil guy. I have a code. If I was tough enough, I've had it tattooed on my fingers here or something. But I have a code that I use to make decisions when we run into a dilemma. I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to be compassionate. I'm going to be honest. The fair part means that if I let somebody turn in something late, and then I don't let everybody turn something in late, You know, how's that fair to the people that got it done on time? It's not fair. Consistent. You got to be consistent in these policies. I do not favor students. I do not favor, anyone with regards to policies and practices. So I'm consistent in how I deliver these. So if you think I'm being unfair with you, I'm sorry you feel that way. But just so you know, it's not just you. I'm being consistent with everybody and how I administer these. And then honest. I'm going to tell you if you're slacking. I'm going to tell you that you need to step it up. I'm going to be honest with you. Now, I'll do it professionally, and I'll never criticize publicly. I think a good rule of thumb is praise publicly and criticize privately. And that's how we'll handle things. But I will be honest with you if I feel like you need to step it up. And I think sometimes that's a good wake-up call for all of us. And then I also have some compassion in me. Contrary to what you may be thinking at this point, I am compassionate. Obviously things happen. Terrible things can happen to us. We can have things going on in our lives that nobody else knows about. But you've got to talk with us, the professors, the instructors. Come talk with me. Tell me what's going on in your life. Let's work on helping you be successful in this class, to not miss due dates, to reschedule things prior to those things occurring. All right, so that's my speech on late assignments. So here at the first of the semester, it seems to be that I have the biggest challenges with students on late stuff. The SALs, it's going to take you a little while to figure out how to save those and make those into a PDF. Don't wait until 10 o'clock on the 23rd on Sunday night to figure that out. Get with me this week if you got questions. We got 5 days this week to figure it all out. I'm here Monday through Friday. I work on the weekends, but I'm not going to commit to being available on the weekends, all right? So I'm just letting you know up front that I'm busy in the evenings and on weekends with other activities not necessarily associated with responding to student questions. But I'll help you if I can. Time requirements, I already talked about that a little bit. Read through that. This is a paradigm shift for most students when they take an online class. There's more work for you to do because it's an online class, all right? Rubrics, I have grading rubrics that I grade most of my stuff with. You'll see those come up throughout the semester. Policy on homework help, ask for help, we're here to help. Grades, your grades will be posted. I typically grade things very quickly to get you a response back and let you know how you performed on that last assignment. Participation, we're going to still need to participate in these discussion topics. Your grade will be affected drastically if you do not participate in discussion topics. Obviously, this is an online class, so I'm not looking for you to be attendance here. Your attendance, however, you do need to be actively involved in the D2L shell. Just so you know, I can tell when you're logged in, and I can tell how much time you're spending. I can tell how much time you spend on assignments and all of those things. So I can help give you some advice and counseling on if I think you're spending enough time on these things. So I look at attendance online is the amount of time you're spending on these activities and doing these things. Obviously, cell phones and things in class aren't a huge deal with online. Academic integrity. This is called plagiarism. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Write your own stuff. Do your own work. Every semester in all of our classes, we've got thousands of students in our BBA program, and it just saddens me every semester we have students that decide to use this strategy to plagiarize, and it catches up to them. This day and age with technology, guys, don't do it. It can be tracked and caught pretty easily. All right, so we have all of these activities here. These are just kind of resources for you to know about, the educational access services. If you have a disability or something, please get with me. I'll work with you on that. We're here to help everyone be successful. I don't care what your ability or disabilities are. The university has great resources for that, and the faculty are here to help you be successful, but you need to communicate with us. This is the first place you start. Get a hold of folks at EAS, and they will get you lined up with regards to how to work with us and communicate with us on what we need to do to accommodate you. Email, use your CMU email for everything. TLC, I don't have this course set up in the Learning Center. However, if you're struggling with writing and things, go see him. Okay, let's see. Library. Obviously, our library is blown apart, being rebuilt. Hopefully, you know where all the library locations are. Withdrawal dates, career services, and student services. Whew. I have no idea how long I've been rambling on here, but it feels like a long time. I'm sure it feels longer to you guys. So I'm going to wrap that up with our syllabi review. This doesn't mean that you won't get more information on all these activities as the semester rolls out. But read this, understand it, and ask questions about it. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. I look forward to getting to know you guys through the semester, and let me know what questions you have as we get going here this week. Have a great day.